You know, this whole Trump administration thing is not going very well. And I wonder if people are going to start to miss the Joe Biden days of the White House just by virtue of the fact that he wasn't Trump, just by virtue of the fact that he was at least marginally better than Trump. So, look, every president has had their follies, their faults, their goof ups. Every president has had bad policy in some area or another. But for crying out loud, we're talking about stock markets crashing less than 3 months into President Trump's term. New Great Depression, potentially, at the start of President Trump's term, all after he announces these tariffs. And now he's talking about, oh, we're going to pause them, just flip flopping, making a total fool of himself. You've got to make up your mind, for crying out loud, dude. And his supporters will say, oh, well, he's just playing 3D chess, he's negotiating, he's bluffing, and it's very strategic. Well, the only thing that's strategic is the cope that you're doing right now, Trump supporters. You are coping. Because the fact of the matter is that no objective, reasonable person could say that Trump's presidency right now is going great. No one could. Now, none of us are objective. No person is perfectly objective. We all have biases in some form or another, but you would have to be horribly, horribly biased and or brainwashed in order to think that this is a great presidency. You must not know anything about the presidency. You must not know anything about the Constitution, about what's going on in this country right now, if you think that this is a great presidency. We can debate over how bad it is. I happen to think it's pretty bad. There are some people who probably would say that it's even worse than I would. Some people would say that it's a little better than I would, but still not great. But for crying out loud, this is not a great presidency. That's objective fact that you can't even debate. This sucks. I don't know how else to put it. At this point, if you don't agree with that, you're probably not paying attention enough. So, Joe Biden, though, will he be missed? Because the fact of the matter is that the way he handled things kind of sucked too. It did. He stayed in the race way too long. He hurt the Democratic Party. He embarrassed the Democratic Party. He thought that, oh yeah, no, I'm spry enough. I'm not a young man, of course, but I can still get a second term, Jack. I need to be a 2-term president. I know what I know. I know right from wrong, he famously said after his debate with Donald Trump. Wow, very, very low bar there. You know right from wrong. Good. Yeah, Trump doesn't know right from wrong, obviously. He only knows what's going to benefit him and what's going to hurt him. So, yeah, you're marginally better than Donald Trump. Congratulations, dude. But for crying out loud, when Joe Biden was president, we didn't have Elon Musk hacking into the federal government, just cutting spending that he doesn't like, labeling it waste, fraud, and abuse, asking questions later, if he ever gets to asking questions, and then, yeah, just ruining people's lives. People are dying as a result of this. And now, Elon Musk is being used as the lightning rod of the Trump administration, possibly even more so than Trump. They might ditch Musk. After this Wisconsin Supreme Court election, they used him as a punching bag, a lightning rod. They said, Elon Musk is trying to get Brad Schimmel on the Wisconsin Supreme Court. Vote against Elon Musk being on the Supreme Court. They said, Judge Musk is running for the Wisconsin Supreme Court, taken down. And Musk's opponent, so to speak, won by 10 points. He got totally embarrassed. It was horrific. So with Joe Biden, obviously, there was the argument made by people on the right that, well, look, he's so old. His brain is pretty dysfunctional, if functional at all. He's not the one running the show, obviously. He doesn't have the capacity to be president. Let's take that as true. Let's stipulate that that's true. Are the people who are running the country right now, instead of Trump, really better at running the country than the people who are running it instead of Biden? The people who were the shadow presidents under Biden, were they really doing a worse job than Elon Musk and all of Trump's team? Trump has surrounded himself with some of the stupidest people on the planet, some of the most corrupt. Think Pete Hegseth. Think spineless, soulless Tulsi Gabbard, who can't make up her mind on anything, who's totally inconsistent, who's a stone cold liar. Think Kash Patel, who's a total psychopath. Joe Biden appointed nobody in the ballpark of Kash Patel in terms of how terrible they are. Nobody. And there are some bad ones in the Biden administration. There are some bad ones, but nobody comes close to Kash Patel territory. I just don't know anyone in the Biden administration who wrote books portraying Joe Biden as a king and as a hero, children's books. That is a whole new level of psychopathy, psychopath. The psychopaths in the Trump administration are what is making it just so egregious and just such a headache for so many Americans. So the billboards are going to start popping up that say, "Miss me yet" with Joe Biden on them. They already are. I've seen pictures of it over on X, just this early into Trump's presidency. Now, of course, There are plenty of presidents who left office with poor approval ratings and have gained higher approval ratings as time has went on. Think George W. Bush. There were even billboards that popped up of George W. Bush saying "Miss me yet." Yeah, and that guy was not well liked during his presidency, during the middle and the end mostly. During the beginning, he was beloved for his response to 9/11. But yeah, so people use that to score points against Obama. People did that against Trump the first time and said, yeah, miss Obama yet? I miss Obama. He could speak a complete sentence. He knew stuff about government and policy. And with Joe Biden, it's like, well, he can't speak a complete sentence all that often. He had a rough foreign policy in terms of being hated by both the left and the right. You know, the right hated him for funding Ukraine. The left hated him for funding Israel. So he was a punching bag across the entire political spectrum. But holy cow, he didn't crash the stock market. He didn't talk about doing wars with all these countries. You know, Trump is a neocon, and Joe Biden is actually less of a neocon than him, believe it or not. Trump's a pro-war president. Biden was comparatively the anti-war president. And in fact, he withdrew the United States from the Afghanistan war. A lot of people don't like to pay attention to that. And that's for partisan politics reasons. Partisan politics reasons make people say, oh yeah, no, the Democrats are actually pro-war because they support Ukraine, who got invaded by Russia and are getting butchered, and Zelensky needs our help in fighting for Ukrainian freedom. Oh no, how pro-war. How dare they support countries that aren't autocracies? How dare they? So yeah, no, it's a total lie. And I think people are seeing with this Greenland thing that the idea of Trump being anti-war is a total lie. And maybe they don't gotta hand it to Biden's foreign policy. But they're like, holy cow, Biden didn't talk about invading Greenland. Trump didn't talk about it. Trump didn't talk about taking Greenland during the campaign. And now as president, he's sprung this big surprise on us. It's time to take Greenland. And J.D. Vance is like, yeah, the president is right. It's time to take Greenland. We need to get serious about getting Greenland. I went to Greenland, and let me just tell you, they had really great couches there. I love couches. Okay, he didn't say that, but, you know, we got to throw a few memes in our videos, right? So we've got this administration of people who are smart, but are liars and creeps and fascists and authoritarians and, you know, even in some cases Nazis, like Elon Musk and his Nazi salute. We've got idiots like Pete Hegseth, you know, just basically a gathering of the worst people you can imagine. And with Joe Biden's presidency, it's like, okay, he didn't have the best people you can imagine. That's for darn sure. He had some neo-libs. He had some corrupt people. He had some slow, technocratic people who aren't exactly the most exciting. And when he announced that he was appointing them at the end of 2020, some progressives were like, oh, really? This is who we get? And they said, yeah, this is barely an improvement from Trump. And whatever, they're entitled to that opinion. But yeah, the Biden administration was not exactly a glowing administration. But this administration is showing us that, hey, Biden and Obama, and even Trump in his first term, they actually knew how to appoint administrations which weren't totally insane. Cabinet members who were not total loyalists. Trump did that in his first term. The right ridicules him for it now. They say, oh, you needed to appoint loyalists. You appointed neocons and deep state losers who sabotaged your presidency. And now it's like, okay, he appointed neocons and loyalists to him, like Pete Hegseth. And it's like now they're bringing out the ultimate Trump sycophant presidency, the ultimate fascist, authoritarian, neocon presidency at the same time. They're merging those two things. So, you know, while his first administration was neocon but not loyalist, this administration is neocon and it is loyalist. It's the worst of both worlds. And worst of all worlds, I would say. And I think that's exactly what's making make Biden look so good, you know, where people are like, oh, shoot, wow, I kind of miss Biden. Biden handed over to Trump an economy that was pretty darn solid. It was recovering. It wasn't the best ever, but it was recovering. And now Trump is tanking it. Trump is tanking it. And people are going to see, wow, I didn't think Biden was good on A, B, C, F, G, whatever, K, L, M, N, O, P. But Trump is bad on all 26 letters of the alphabet. It's the worst of all worlds under President Trump. And under Biden, we had some bad crap to deal with. We had some stupid gaffes. We finally beat Medicare, he said. But for crying out loud. Trump is out here. He can barely speak a complete sentence. He's old. He's falling apart. His policy sucks butt. Elon Musk, who's exposed himself to be one of the worst people on the planet right now, is showing how entitled, how arrogant, how petty he is. threatening lawsuits against people who say he did a Nazi salute. Like, yes, you're going to get laughed out of the room, bud. Go ahead. But it's all an intimidation tactic. Fortunately, he's the least intimidating person on the planet. And if you don't believe me, go look up a picture of Elon Musk shirtless. Holy cow. Do a plank for once in your life, bro. Anyhow. Yeah, so Trump has appointed some of the worst people to his cabinet, and he has brought in some of the worst unelected thugs, unelected robber barons, as Kyle Kulinski would say, to his team. Elon Musk, his senior advisor. And now he's making a total mockery of the American government. And he's showing everyone how stupid his supporters can act, how disingenuous they can act. Oh, we need to crash the economy to liberate ourselves. Liberation Day, he called April 2nd. Really? Liberation Day, the day that we supposedly get free from all these foreign goods, the day that, we tell the world to stop making us their bitch, what even is the goal of all of this? Buffoons will trust him and say, well, it's part of a master plan. It's part of a master plan. He's going to free us. I'm sorry. The guy doesn't have that much special moves. He doesn't have all the sauce there. He's not going to find his way out of the forest. We're in the woods. We're lost in the woods on economics, on foreign policy, on all this stuff. And the tariffs are certainly a big compounding factor. Biden did tariffs, by the way. Did you hear about them? No, and there's a reason for that. It's not because the media is biased. It's because they were done responsibly. I'm not reflectively anti-tariff. I don't know what to tell you. But the way Trump's doing it is like, wow, this gives tariffs a bad name. This gives tariffs a bad name. It's what makes people go, wow, you are terrible. You are terrible. And it makes people say, maybe free trade isn't so bad after all. A lot of people love to bash free trade. They say, I want fair trade. I want fair trade. We need to stop letting other countries take advantage of us. But when push comes to shove, and there's a president saying, we're going to tariff the shit out of you. They're like, whoa, wait, hold on. The prices are going to go up. And so when you have some of the same flaws as existed under the Biden administration of high prices, plus oligarchy, plus threatening to invade other countries, steal Greenland, potentially use military force, he did not rule that out. It's like, wow, this country is worse off in every way. And you know what? The Middle East is worse off in every way for Palestinians because Trump is helping Bibi Netanyahu do whatever he wants. They're going to level Gaza. They're talking about that. So that reason that so many staunch leftists, perhaps understandably, said, I'm not voting for Biden, I'm not voting for Harris, the Democrats suck, not vote blue no matter who, nope, I'm not going to kiss the Democratic Party's butt again. Those people are now seeing, well, Trump is even worse for those people in the Middle East who just want freedom, who just want to stop being slaughtered. The people that they purported to care about, the people they purported to be voting in the best interests of by not voting at all, are suffering more because of Trump's win over Kamala Harris. It's outrageous. So yeah, will people start to miss Biden? I don't know. I don't think people are going to miss all these gaffes and feeling like, their president is basically asleep at the wheel. We saw that under Biden, and that doesn't detract from any of Trump's flaws. But yeah, Biden's confidence, his ability to come off as confident is just a heck of a lot weaker than Trump's. But his ability to not come off as unhinged is quite a bit better. Trump's acting unhinged. There's no denying that. Biden, you knew you had people behind the scenes who could help, moderate the scene, who could, assure the rest of the world that we got this under control. Even if Biden goes to bed at 8:30 p.m. or whatever, we still have adults running the country. We still have adults who aren't insane running the country. So, yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if a couple years from now, Biden's approval rating sees a big bump, his favorability, and people start rating him more highly. Not so much because everyone loved his presidency. 2024, and especially the campaign when everyone wanted him to get out of the race because he was too darn old and too darn incoherent. That time period was rough for the Democratic Party. But this time period and the time period ahead, up until probably 2029, is rough for the whole darn country. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Like, comment, or subscribe to the channel. This has been the Morris the Merrier. Thank you so much for watching, and I look forward to speaking to you in my next video.